And we are live. Welcome back to Aussies Taking Over the NBA. We're in the studio for the first time in months and months.
It's
coronavirus pandemic. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great.
It's
great
been a
to
while.
Be back.
It's been a while.
It's going to be weird. Like it's, looking down the barrel of looking at you. Now I've got to do these ones. And kind of look, yeah. So it's going to be very interesting working out the kinks in this system. Today we're going to bring in you a Cleveland Cavaliers season is a bit strong of a word, I think.
Existence? Franchise existence?
Cosmic existence. They just exist.
Yeah.
But obviously Matthew Dellavedova and then the mid-season transfer of Dante Exum. Transfer? What do you call it? Trade? Dante Exum. We'll go through that. Talk a little bit about their future. I think we'll glom these in together like some of these teams where there's not really that much to talk about. We'll do like the season review and just talk about their future a little bit rather than do two separate episodes. I don't think we'll be able to string out that much.
This is
content.
A season review and season preview because, look, I think the one thing the Cavs were hoping is some strong drafting and kind of hasn't happened over the last couple of years. I think they've made some interesting draft choices, probably not corner pieces or franchise cornerstones. Colin Sexton's a decent player, but I don't think we'll ever kind of negate the other issues surrounding his game, such as defense, when we're moving definitely more into a defensive league. But remember to like, share, and subscribe. That's the most important part. We'll have to put a
all the way along
precipice here is that we are upping the content game, I believe.
Yep.
We're going to be coming to some cool stuff. We are getting into cards.
Yeah, dropping the bomb. We're going to be bringing out some card content. Doing a few reaction videos to Josh Green and Maker Maker. And then the draft. We're going to do some draft content as well. But yeah, as always, like, share, and subscribe. We are in the studio today, but we'll probably go back to doing the podcast once a week and bring in some new content too, and a lot more content. So yeah, subscribe to YouTube and subscribe to Facebook. Go on to Facebook and give us a like on Facebook. We're trying to get some community action going, get some people talking about Aussies taking over the NBA and grow this a little bit more.
Yep.
As the new season kind of...
We get an understanding in the next week or so whether there is a new season start date. They're obviously they're trying to aim for Christmas or potentially mid-January. I think with the way things are going in the US and the pandemic, it could be a little bit weird.
So just quickly, like, what do you reckon? What's your gut feel?
My gut feel is they have to start. And my gut feel is that there will be some arenas with fans in it, very little, probably high-paying fans. And there'll be other arenas, probably California teams that will have no fans in them just based on where they live in America. I think that, it's pretty hard. It's a bit easier playing football when it's all outdoors. You can kind of do things a bit more safely, but all these arenas are indoors. So unless they're going to build some giant outdoor arenas for fans to play basketball in, I don't see that happening. So I would say there'll be minimal fans. They have to start the league. They're talking about no All-Star weekend as well, just getting the season out and finishing it before the Olympics. Whether that goes ahead or not, who knows? 72 game season, which is good. It gives us some entertainment when we're kind of got nothing to do or locked down or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. But yeah, they need money, they need revenue coming in pretty fast and thick because the collective bargaining agreement doesn't really allow for players to take a huge pay cut. The ones that are on salary and on contract, but I definitely see a lot of the new contract or unrestricted free agents taking a massive pay cut going into this season.
It'll be really interesting to see because the players are really well remunerated. Was it? I think I read it was something like 50% of most of the franchises really are player salaries.
Yeah,
I think it was something like that. And like I said, the players are really well remunerated in this situation. They're the ones that are going to have to take the hit. Obviously, they're the ones that are playing. Most franchises have front offices, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people around organizations that, things might become a little bit uncertain for how franchises operate. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting what happens because if they just take a stance where they just go, whatever, people in arenas, if you get the virus, too bad. it might just get to a situation like that, especially if they're losing money hand over fist. I like I was saying to you, I thought they were pretty well galvanized from people in arenas, and from what's coming out at the moment, a lot of franchises are basically like, we need people in these arenas, otherwise, we're in trouble. Which I guess that'll be very interesting to watch.
Well, you have to remember, Daryl Morey cost the league so much money by tweeting shit about Hong Kong. Just shut your mouth and take your paycheck. And then just jet it off from Houston. I'm out. See you guys. I've fucking destroyed this franchise, but now I'm going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think China's in the thick of things when it comes to a downturn of NBA and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that picks up again. They're going to have something to watch as well, and the NBA is a big product in China. So I would imagine that engaging and bringing that back would be an important part of the franchise future. But yeah, they're going to have high paying bums on seats, socially distanced. This isn't going anywhere anytime soon. There's no vaccine on the horizon for a while, so we're going to have to live with the consequences of that, and just they'll figure out a way. I think the bubble was good, but yeah, I don't think it was real basketball.
I liked it.
I think it was more a mental game than a physical game.
Yeah.
It was like a game of mental attrition, and you can definitely see the teams that just kind of floundered around and didn't have the mental capacity, Clippers, to actually win the series when they did have the talent. So I would definitely say that getting back to some sort of regular season, we'll see more home and away basketball, maybe some fans in arenas, but yeah, we got to continue on and get it happening.
Yeah, can you tell we're just trying to talk about other things rather than the Cavs?
Yeah. All right, so we'll get to the Cavs.
Let's get to the Cavs. But I do think this kind of plays into this situation with the Cavs, because their cap situation is pretty average. They've got Drummond on their books. They paid Kevon Love. I was going to say Kevin Love.
Kevon.
Which I think was a mistake at the end of the day. Like, LeBron leaves and they just go all out and pay Kevin Love, and you're just kind of like, what are you doing? Like, you needed to get Kevin Love out of there. You've drafted 2 guards in consecutive drafts. Let's try and build something like,
their trade pick accumulation, like they got Drummond for a couple of second round picks, but I didn't rate Drummond even at Detroit, so I don't know what he's going to bring to the Cleveland setup. They've got a lot of guards. They haven't really got a strong center. They're really lacking some wing defenders. Kevin Porter Jr. looked good until he got injured.
Is he related to Michael Porter Jr.?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That would be weird if there's Kevin Porter and Michael Porter in the same family.
That's a bit strange.
Let's
look completely different as well.
Have a quick look at that. But I don't mind Drummond on the team like that. I think Drummond, they look nothing like that, so they're clearly not related. I don't mind that, but Andre Drummond needs to be on a team that kind of has a pretty good backcourt that's going to use him. And then if you look at plugging in Sexton and Garland, both of those guys are just really ball dominant. I don't want to throw it to the big man. Like, I don't want to use my big man. I just want to create shots for myself. And that's what we kind of saw it devolve into. I think Cedi Osman had a decent season where like a bit of a breakout. It was Cedi Osman, they got guys out of his way and now he's playing really well. And then it kind of went back to the Sexton Garland show. But I think all 3 of those guys are individuals who create their own shot to score the ball.
Yeah. But it's always telling when the highest assist man on your team is Darius Garland at 3.2? 3.9. I mean,
Kevin Love as a power forward is second highest assist per game.
I mean, it just shows you they're not getting the team involved. It devolved into some pretty bad coaching, I think.
Yeah, Beeline.
Yeah.
Do we need to talk about the Beeline saga?
Yeah. Nah. What do you call them?
It's too hot.
What do you call them? All monkeys or something?
Nah, thugs, I believe.
Thugs. You're all, just something just completely off center.
And then, they tried to ride that out, and then suddenly it's just like, and Beeline has been fired. And JB Bigstaff coming in to sort of finish out this season. Obviously with the COVID kind of breakdown of the season, It's also a bit of a worry. Delhi, 3.2 assists off the bench, is their third highest assist total.
Playing
that's a bit of a worry.
feck all minutes.
And we'll talk about Dante very soon. But Delhi's season, I think we should start by saying, there was a big hype around his remaking his shot.
Yeah.
That was massive. I'm going to remake my shot. I've been working hard in the off season.
And he kind of did in the World Cup. There was points where you're like, oh, wow, he's just dropped 7 threes in a game. And then it didn't translate to the NBA three-point line. And I think that's...
So he ended up shooting, I think, 23% on the season. So that's way down. I've just got the numbers here working the screen for both of us.
He's up around the 36, 30, 34, 35 in his career, and then he just goes down to 23. And it's
and after being a whole hoo-ha around remaking his jump shot, I think that was a real worry. And we kind of were making a little bit of fun about it at the start of the season, remaking that jump shot, what's going on, Delhi type of thing. And if he's not knocking down threes, I think he can run a decent point, scrappy, good defender, good on ball. But if he's not knocking down the threes, I see his effectiveness really diminish as a guy who can play on this team. And they've got those 2 ball dominant guards. Going forward, I don't know if he's going to fit.
I don't think he fits, but I don't think there's anything better. And I think he's, kind of a Cleveland alumni, and they love him, and he's a good locker guy and a good potential, just a good potential guy to have around. Look, if there's, if they can sign him, I don't know if he qualifies for vet min, but if they can sign him pretty cheaply, $1 or $2 million a year, then he's definitely a guy worth having around. I think that, I think that he is an unrestricted free agent this year. So, he's definitely not going to get $9 million a season, which what he was getting before. But, I think that if he's willing to take a significant pay cut to be part of something and rebuild this team, I don't know what they're rebuilding. I don't know what they're trying to add to it.
Well, let's have a bit of a chat about that. Their team as a whole, starting that season, Sexton, Osman, Garland, Tristan Thompson. I feel like a guy who gets way overhyped. It'd be good on this team, Tristan Thompson. You're just what for? Grabbing a couple of boards and not doing that much else. And then Kevin Love, they pay him last year. They paid him last year. It was the year after LeBron, or the year LeBron left. That's kind of, a team of tier 3 type guys that you're really scrambling for something of something great, something of purchase to build your team around. I don't think you can build your team around Kevin Love. We've seen that over the years. Tristan Thompson, I don't think can be a starting guy. And they don't really have a center, and they ended up bringing.
He needs to
Drummond.
reinvent himself like Dwight Howard. Come off the bench, do a specific purpose. You know what I mean?
Kevin Love, right?
No, Tristan Thompson. There needs to be some reinvention of his game to not this I'm a starting center, let me do everything kind of thing, and I'm the man. Needs to be some.
He's so undersized.
Yeah, I know.
And he hustles, and he gets a lot of praise for his hustle too. But at the same time, he can't shoot a jumper, and I hate being the guy that always goes to the just can't shoot a jumper. You can't be out on the floor. But at the same time, that's where the NBA's heading. We've seen Davis. We'll chat sort of, I think, over the coming few weeks and months about how these big men are going to start diminishing if you can't stay on the floor by shooting the ball and playing good defense.
Yeah, I think what we're talking about this pre-game, pre-pod, and some of the young talent coming through, like Chet Holmgren. There's that guy, the French guy, 7'3". It's almost like a Kristaps Porzingis who can play, low block ball. These are going to be the centers they're going to get paid. Your dunk center specialist is dying, and is dying a very real death because they just don't add depth to this game anymore. Everyone wants this mutant point guard that can draw defenders in and have shooters on the outside. And we can see that, the last dominant center in the league being Shaq. And, you can say Joel Embiid's dominant. He's dominant for about 10 minutes when he's not tired. You can't play block to block. You can't do it. It's just impossible in the speed and power and physicality of today's game. So you're going to need centers that can stretch the floor and shoot the 3 ball, but also defend the block. And I think the first one where they thought that might be was kind of Thon, which is why they drafted him at 10. But that didn't eventuate. So it'd be interesting to see some of these guys coming through if that's the case. I think that your Rudy Gobert's, your Dwight Howard's, your JaVale McGee's, these guys are all just going to get paid $2.5 million. They're going to be $3 or $5 million guys because, there's not been a center that's won the league in a long time, and paying Drummond $25 million a season is just a complete waste of salary space.
Yeah. And having said that, obviously we've just seen LeBron and Anthony Davis, and Anthony
Davis is a power forward. Like, he does not. He plays the 5 unwillingly.
Yeah, it's guys who can sit under their position and also play another position. I think if you even go back through the Warrior years, they had Durant defending the rim. They had Draymond Green playing up. They never had a proper center unless you kind of go back to Bogut. Like, they had McGee, but McGee was struggling to stay on the floor. It's all about being able to be small and play above your station, unless you're a team with balance like the Lakers, who have and the Heat as well, who have a 7-footer who could do everything. Like, your 7-footer now has to be like Jokic or like Anthony Davis. Like, Jokic obviously doesn't have the defensive caliber, but Anthony Davis does. But they can pass, they can facilitate, they can shoot the ball, they can be put into spots where they just don't look like they don't know what they're doing, for lack of a better word. And we railed against Rudy all season, sort of saying, it's not it's a formula potentially to get you to the playoffs, but it's not a formula for winning. So if you're going all in to build a team, maybe it's fine now where when the Cavs are kind of just rebuilding and bringing back up. There's too many centers on that team to draft then another center, right? You're just not. There's so much. We just need to draft a small forward or a shooting guard that is a 3-and-D player. That's what we need to build from the waist up. You've got too many ball dominant guards. You've signed, or you traded for Jordan Clarkson for Dante Exum, and you got to kind of give Dante had a couple of big breakout games before he got injured again. And you're like, wow, okay, this guy is in the right situation to grow as a player, and let's see what we can get out of him. But really, you need to draft sensibly. You need to draft a small forward, or a 2-guard. It's like a 3-and-D player. If you trust that Kevin Love's going to stay healthy. But I mean, just little depth in this team. Darius Garland 6'1", Kevin Sec. They're small. They're unless you're a sensational like Steph Curry like player, I just don't see 6'1" point guards being the way of the future. Like, we saw in the Miami series, it's Jimmy Butler, it's Tyler Hero, 6'5". It's Duncan Robinson, who's playing a bit of point, 6'6". There's no 6'1" doesn't do it for me anymore. Yeah, I think it's easy to fall into a trap of just being like, I don't like your size. And I've done it heaps in different sports over the years. It's like football. I don't like goalkeepers that aren't under 6'1", or that are under 6'1" rather. Like, you want your keeper to be over 6'1", he needs to be a big guy. Like, centers, I like it at 7 foot, but the 7-footer has to be able to move. Like, you can't just be an anchor like a boat anchor like Howard or like McGee.
Bam kind of plays the perfect undersized center role, and I think that's why Miami was so cohesive as a team. Like, can score, is aggressive, but can protect the rim. So he's got good block, but he's not overly big, and so can run the floor effectively most of the game. But then you look at Drummond, just oversized, get fucking tired, get rinsed really effective. Like, Joel Embiid's a perfect one, man. You just can't play dudes block to block anymore. It doesn't work, especially if they're going to be your cornerstone piece. Like I said, I don't think a center's going to win you the league. I don't think they're going to be that number 2 spot to win you a league. You need guys that can play multiple positions and potentially play up in the right moments. But you also don't want to go like the Rockets, which were just... retarded.
Micro ball.
Yeah.
God, that
6'6" Chubb. Just like all 6'6" and Chubb.
I was, by the end of it, I was like, okay, I admire this whole horizontal spacing thing.
Yeah.
Good. That's not bad, but then to get rid of the couple of centers that were actually helping out, that was a bit silly. But looking at this team, so let's quickly just go to Dante Exum, and then we'll go like in the future of what this team is. Exum coming through, he was injured, I think, when he was traded.
Yep.
And then I think 3/4 of the way through the season, from memory, I'm pulling this out of my brain, came back, played a few games, looked all right. 24 games during the season. It's not too bad.
He had a big standout game where he dropped 30 off just some crazy shooting and crazy slashing. And he had a couple of good games and then just got injured again.
Let's go and we'll have an actual look at his log. So he played for Utah. He was inactive until November. Then he missed a few games, December, and then he was pretty much traded and came back. So I think he came back from injury, unless I think he was fit there actually.
Yeah,
and then he was made inactive, and then basically went to Cleveland in December, the end of December, just around the new year. Looking through his game log, 14 points against Miami, not bad. He had that 28-point game against Minnesota, where he hit 4 from 3. Not a 3-point shooter. Like, even watching his stroke, it doesn't look.
It's very slow.
It's very, very trunky. Very like it really keeps his shoulders
like a Giannis.
in tight.
It's like a smaller Giannis.
It's like his limbs aren't perfectly molded for a proper shooting action. You know what I mean? It's like his arms are a little bit too long. I find Giannis is like that a little bit as well. Like, you just like, your arms are too long to shoot a jump shot. Like, it just doesn't. You don't have the right proper unless you're kind of a big man and grows into your body. Like, I've noticed a lot of big men. Like, you see Jokic shoot over over the head almost.
Rainbows.
And he does that really well. But I see a lot of other big men, they kind of, it's like a platform that they just flick over with their wrists. But whereas Exum's like pull up, and it's like the momentum comes out of his shot, like he shoots it like that. So I think he's got to kind of work on his three. It doesn't look like a stroke that can get better. Like, if you just fix this, you're going to be a good shooter. I don't see that happening. But at the same time, like, great slashing to the rim. Like, I think he just needs to grab the ball by the horns and just start getting to the rim. Just like, I'm the guy who gets it off a cut and goes.
I still take it back to that series against Houston, 3 years ago when we started podcasting, where we just shut down James Harden defensively. And I think you go back to that. If you can stay healthy defensively, he's really, really good for his size, quick, good lateral movement and long arms, and can defend. So, you look, cornerstone piece of this franchise, I definitely say if you can stay healthy, yes. Playing some two guard between Garland and Love at the point, they just drafted 2 point guards. I don't know why. I don't know why. And then just like, we're going to keep Delly, we're going to keep this guy. I don't know why they've done things like that. But this year, what have they got draft pick-wise?
Yeah, the number 5 pick.
Number 5 pick. I'm pretty sure they got some deeper picks as well in the second round.
Let me just check that. Oh, Cavaliers. Two L's. These guys, watch these guys Google stuff. No, I think they just got the 1 pick, looks like.
Oh, okay.
What do you draft though? Like this team is just, you got to go with Garland and Sexton and just go, right, like, we need some big wings, and then sort of those big wings push out the centers. And spread the floor like that. But then you look at the 2 centers as Drummond and Ante Zizic.
I do think they're going to trade a center. I think they've got some.
Surely they've got to trade Larry Nance.
Well, Larry Nance is kind of like, I think he's unrestricted as well. Well, he's got a player option, doesn't he?
Let's have a look.
He's getting paid too much. He's fucking rubbish.
He's rubbish.
He's just
well, come on. Just decided we can't even find it. Sport Track's just crashed. That's what it thinks of Larry Nance. it did crash too.
This page does not work.
Oh well, Sport Track just went down as soon as we started talking about Larry Nance. But you would think, I don't know, but what's a center they could bring in really? Like,
I don't think they bring in a center. I think that they stick with Zizic. They pick between Tristan Thompson.
Do you stick with Drummond? Do you just go, we're bad, let's stick with Drummond?
There's been talk of trading Drummond to the Celtics for Hayward and a couple of picks.
Oof.
I mean, that's a good trade for Cleveland, though. That's a beast trade. Like, if you're Cleveland, you make that trade. Hayward's not an all-in player. It's a shit contract because he's never kind of regained. But he's a solid player. He gives you that kind of that small forward, power forward, hybrid kind of player that can shoot a little bit, can slash, and you can build a little bit of a team around and give you some vet experience. He's been to the finals. Look at that. Who's been to the finals there?
Tristan Thompson won a ring. Larry Nance, I believe, won a ring. Kevin Love won a ring. Didn't do much in that series.
Yeah,
but he won a ring.
That's what I mean. Like, who's actually actively participated in a playoff series? Like, no one.
Yeah, but I don't know what. Like, they have to find guys that work with Garland and Sexton, and I don't know how you do that. Like, I don't know how you go right 2 really ball dominant guards that are undersized. Like, how do you put guys around that? That doesn't make any sense. You know, like you need one guy like that, like a Phoenix, like a Booker type player, and then you build around it.
You've got to bail on. I think you've got to make the decision in the next 2 seasons to bail on one of them or trade them for some G League or get some guys up and build some guys up from the G League. I think, I don't.
But they did draft them, so it's.
I know because
you're going in that direction, boys. So enjoy that.
Yeah,
it's also quite a small market team too. So they don't have the pick of the luring guys. To the franchise. I think they've got to be looking at maybe 3 or 4 years of rebuild at the moment. Yeah, which is scary, to be honest. I think, especially with these COVID times. It's a smallish market team. LeBron kind of made it a big flashy destination to win championships while he was there. And then, it's like a vortex. He leaves and the whole thing kind of crumbles.
Yeah, they kind of just didn't see that coming. Everyone saw it coming except them, and they just didn't move the pieces in order to get, I suppose, with that to make him happy to try and win that last year where they just got trounced by Golden State. But yeah, it's pretty bad.
So just looking at they drafted Garland. So
why would you not why would you not pick Rui Hachimura at 5?
Rui,
oh my god, Kobe White even, Tyler Hero. I mean, you go down. I wouldn't go down any further than that, but
Tybal at 20.
Keldon Johnson, man, he's going to be. I think that was a smart pop one, but. Rui Hachimura. I would pick Rui Hachimura at 5 any day of the week. We watched him destroy Australia for Japan, and just like, okay, that is probably defensively a little bit weak, but that's a guy you could build a franchise around. And they picked Darius Garland, who is a 6'1" point guard, who they already had a point guard, and they had a backup point guard, and then they had Brandon Knight, who's a backup point guard. It was just like, what?
Even Sexton at 8, the draft before me, even like a Kevin Knox.
No, that was
No. Lonnie? Could have had Lonnie Walker?
No.
Maybe Grayson Allen. Going back, remember when we covered this draft? Far out, man. That wasn't the worst draft. Doncic, obviously.
I can't believe Doncic went at 3, though. As if you would not just pick Doncic at 1.
You know who would be good for Warriors, man? DeAndre Ayton. I'd have him at the Warriors still.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, because he's a good mid-range player. All right, we're getting back to the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, let's wrap.
Okay. So going forward, I don't know, man. It's a mess. Like, I think it needs like a full clean out. Like, you need to get Kevin Love out of there. You need to get like Tristan Thompson, Larry Nance, Drummond out of there. And then just start building, like stacking pieces on top of each other.
Yeah, you got to take some shit contracts, I think, for the next couple of years to get some picks or get some base guys in there to build depth in the bench and then work on. But yeah, you've got to pick between Drummond and Tristan Thompson. I think that'll happen this offseason because you've got a couple of centers in there in Zizic. And Larry Nance. There's too many guards and too many centers and just no players in between.
Yeah, their wings are struggling. Like McKinney, 27. They got Henson. Oh no, did Henson leave? I think Henson got traded.
Yeah,
or is he still there? Let's just quickly check his roster. There's another center then. No, he's no longer on the roster. Yeah. You've got to, okay, here we go. You got to be banking on Garland and Sexton at 25 years old, being that's who you have in 5 years. And then you've got to think, who do we put around that guy? Some oversized, good defensive wings.
Yeah. And
then a couple of centers. Maybe you draft the centers now and have them in 5 years grow to be. Although the center market's a struggle sometimes. Like, you draft guys and then in 3 years it's just like, ew, like, why did you draft that guy? Like,
the center market. But again, you got to get good scouts and you got to understand what you're trying to build. If you just want a dunk spot specialist, then the market's flooded with them. And you should be picking them up at $5 million a season, not $25 million, like a $25 million contract. Anyway,
that's a worry. That's a real trap, isn't it? It's a real trap. Salary trap.
It's a salary trap. It's the overpaid center, and it's such a shit contract to get rid of. Like, you can get rid of an overpaid guard because some team will have a guard for a couple of seasons who's overpaid and, play them and, not play them and things like that. But center is just like, oh, we're going to sign him to a max 5-year contract. You're like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah. I think they took on his contract after it was maxed by Detroit, I believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, he deserved to get paid because Detroit is such an asshole of a team. I love Detroit.
Oh, we got to do Thon Maker too.
We don't even know if he's gonna, get signed. But I think his qualifying offer of $3 million. I'd sign him.
Thonmaker. I wrote all the guys down. I missed Thonmaker actually.
Thonatron.
So yeah, I think if this is your team, you got to bank on Garland and Sexton in 5 years and go, right, we need a bunch of defensive wings so that in 5 years those defensive wings are mature. We've got 2 centers, that have matured. Zizic will be 27, 28, and that's what you got to do. But the premise of we're building around Garland and Sexton is just like, huge roll of the dice there, man.
Do you just go and get Jonah Bolden and put him at 4?
Yeah.
Why not?
Bolden could join any team, I think, and make them better. Like, that's not just blowing smoke up his ass and saying he's great. Like, I think he could fit almost any team.
Yeah.
Because he, to me, is kind of like the perfect prototype player at the moment that can play 3 or 4 and play almost and defend almost up to 5 at a reasonable level. Like, you're not going to get, a championship defense from him, but you're going to get at
some
least
guy 10 minutes off the bench who can, stretch the floor and defend some, second tier centers. I definitely think so.
Attitude though, questionable. But for a team like the Cavs, man, just take a punt on it.
Take a punt.
Yeah.
He $2 million a season, if that. Cheap. All right, guys.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it there. That's enough Cavs.
Enough Cavs talk.
We'll see what happens over the next few weeks. Maybe we don't need to do a preview. I think this was enough of
I think this is enough. Maybe we'll do a rant.
We'll talk about where the Cavs are going and what we can do and do some.
We've got some cool rant 10-minute rants coming out as well, so that'll be good.
Yeah, and as always, like, share, and subscribe all the way across the bottom here. Aussies are taking over the NBA, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Spotify. Now we're on Spotify, so make sure you check that out. And we'll see you guys. We're coming back very soon. We're going to do a Patty Mills and Spurs wrap, so stay tuned.